Hello everybody, and welcome to another puzzle challenge video with chessuniversity.com. This is Ryan presenting first the solution to yesterday's puzzle and then a new puzzle for the day. Since we're into the weekend around the world, we're moving into our harder puzzles of the week for more advanced players, so I'd say under 2,000 is the intended audience, though players above that are also free to chime in with their solutions. And but like I said, we're going to start with the solution to yesterday's puzzle and then proceed from there. Here it's white to play and win. If you want a moment, please pause the video and try to solve it if you haven't done so already, because I will proceed now with the solution. This move was actually missed in the game by both players. It was pointed out afterwards. And the best move here for white is the very nice shot, rook takes c4, which, like I said, was completely missed. And the consequence, or the reason this is possible, I should say, is because the rook on a5 is only protected once, so it's pretty loose in a sense after this rook moves away. So that's why moving the rook away was a mistake. And rook c4 is a cool idea, really. The point is that if pawn takes, then knight takes c4 is crushing, because, well, white's going to win this rook back on a5 next move with 2 pawns extra, which is completely winning. And so really after rook c4, the best that black can hope for is just a pawn down position where they're completely lost, but they can try to fight on in the long run with a move like king here. Now threatening to take the rook, but now the rook can just move. So that's the solution. White wins a clean pawn with rook c4, exploiting that nice fork motif, deflecting away the king. And now that we've gone over that one, we can move on to our new puzzle for today. So I will now show it. If you've seen a lot of my stuff, whether you've been in any of my live lessons on Chess University or seen a lot of my video courses, you might have seen this. I've used it a lot in lessons. It's a nice combination. And it's white to play and win from here. Now white's winning with, sort of prosaic ways. I think white's just got a great position. Black's king's really bad. White's very active in the center. But black has 2 bishops, and it's not like totally trivial. So it's nice to find the knockout here. There is one way to go about things that's cleaner than all the rest and wins very quickly. So that's what I'm looking for in terms of a solution. So we're going to rewind and show how the game developed up to this point. I played this game back when I was, oh god, I don't remember, probably Class B. Yeah, this was back in 2013. So I think I was between 1600 and 1800 USCF at the time, and I'm playing white against an opponent who's rated roughly the same as me at the time. So the game began as a Sicilian, open Sicilian, because back in the day I like to have fun. Knight f6, knight c3, a6, this is the Najdorf. Bishop e3, going for the English attack, which is in fact what happens. I didn't know really any theory at the time, or at least not enough. Bishop b7, long castles, which is already not a good move. So in this position, I think a3 is prudent, preventing b4. And there's also ideas of playing with g4, g5, which I think is one of the more popular ways of doing this. I think all this means is that bishop b7 is already not a good move. I think theory probably is something like knight b6 to c4. Yeah, that sounds a little bit more to the point than bishop b7. But anyway, castles long is inaccurate here on account of b4, which thankfully my opponent didn't play. Because now if I go for the structure after knight d5, it's not so good. a5 and then a4 is coming, and a big attack coming for black on the queen side. So yeah, b4 would have been really annoying, and the only other thing that you can really do, I mean, knight b1 is a pretty disgusting move to play, so that's not really something you want to consider. Here, even the move d5 is probably very good for black, as is often the case once the knight gets deflected, and the same thing is probably true after knight a4. Although at least here, I think black would have to think about d5, because knight b6 isn't an idea, but d5 probably has a drawback here. Probably knight c5 is strong. Knight c5 or bishop c5. Let's say knight c5. If d4, I think you can just take on b7 with a tempo on the queen. That's very convenient. In general, I think once the knight hops back into the game, this actually could backfire very quickly for black, because their king is still in the center, of course. But yeah, knight a4, probably a slower move here is good. Maybe bishop c6, containing the knight and threatening to capture it. Queen takes b4, and now the b file's open, so stuff like rook b8 is coming. And in general, black's counterplay is supposed to be pretty good when you have the open b and c files like this. So yeah, castles, bishop e7, so overlooking the opportunity, and now g4 is in time to create chaos on the other side of the board. b4 is still probably the best way to play, and often that's how black's reacting to the move g4. But h6 was played instead, which is too slow and also creates a hook on h6, so later when white manages to go g5, it will be opening up some lines. So h4 played, rook c8, king b1, stepping out of the c file, though again, I think a3 at some point around here would have still been a reasonable idea to discourage b4. King b1, knight to b6, bishop d3, knight fd7. Yeah, probably it's too dangerous to castle short. Hard to really say what black's supposed to do. The positions are already pretty difficult from black's point of view. So I think knight fd7 is a good choice. Just getting out of the way of g5, trying to cover the g5 square. I, of course, continued with g5 anyway, because that's the whole point. And, of course, because the black rooks are disconnected, opening the h-file should give me easy road to invading. So black definitely doesn't want to take on g5. So h5 was played, trying to keep it closed. But now it's going to be really difficult for black to ever castle safely, because pawn on h5 is often very weak. So I played a3 finally. I think a3 is still reasonable here. Rook f8. Rook f8 is a really bad move. Yeah, maybe for better or worse they should castle somewhere around here, or play queen c7. But rook f8 basically means that black will never castle, so the king will always be in the center, which looks pretty risky. And of course the rook's not doing a whole lot on f8, so it's a pretty strange move. I played f4 here, which is one of many reasonable ways to go about things. Knight a5 is also pretty good, just controlling the c4 square and improving one of the worst pieces. Usually the knight on b3, if white manages to find a useful place for it, white's doing very well, because all the rest of white's pieces are pretty well placed. So f4 played, trying to open the position. Takes, knight e5, trying to lock it down. And again, there are many ways to play here. Rook f1 looks very good. Just trying to put the rook on an open line. I decided to take on e5 with the idea of opening up the d file for tactical stuff against the queen. And this proved to work out pretty well in the game because my opponent collapsed rather quickly after this. It's probably not the best way, but it seems pretty reasonable. With the king stuck in the center, opening the d file looked very attractive. So here, I played the move queen e2. If you're at home, you can ask yourself what's the threat, but I think it's pretty transparent. You can pause the video if you want, but I'm just going to go ahead and show the idea. Simply trying to introduce a discovered attack with bishop takes b5. So if black's not careful, they'll lose their queen. So queen c7, just sidestepping the threats. Here I played a move I was really happy about. This is actually my favorite move of the game. I played rook h3. Yeah, I was very proud of this move after the game, I remember. So first question to ask yourselves, and again, this is a good moment to pause, I guess. Nice mini exercise. What happens, or what's possible at least, if queen takes h5, which looks like a free pawn? There's at least some complication here that needs to be considered. Okay, so the reason I didn't do this is because black at least has this tricky move, bishop takes a3, where I can't really take back on a3 because my position collapses, queen c3, knight a4 coming, I could get mated if I'm not careful. And of course I don't have to take the bishop, but, sorry, if I move my knight instead, which is probably what I should do, knight e2 or knight a2, bishop just drops back, and I've lost an important defending pawn from my king, so that's really not something I want to allow if I don't have to. Not that white's in huge trouble here, it's just unnecessary to allow these kind of complications. Maybe even bishop takes b2 at some point could be an interesting sacrifice. But yeah, rook h3 is a bit more calm because I'm tactically defending my knight. So for example, if my opponent were to go bishop takes a3, pawn takes, now queen takes c3 loses because of bishop takes b5 check. And that's the point of rook h3. Yeah, and you can't sack on a3 and then not take the knight because then you're just down a piece as black. So my opponent saw that, and instead they just defended the h5 pawn with g6. And now this is our key position. Again, I don't really know what black should have done here. Probably they should have defended the square upon which the tactic occurs, but they just completely overlooked it, so it's understandable. So yeah, after g6, it is again white to play and win. So if you see the solution, make sure you drop a comment either on YouTube or on the official chessuniversity.com post. And if you do so on the official post and you put your solution up before our official solution post goes up tomorrow, you can get reward points on your account. So if that sounds cool, please do check it out. And with that, I will leave you guys for the rest of your day. Thanks for watching this video and stay safe. I'll see everyone tomorrow.